is the breaking news we are getting to you on top of the afternoon prime time here. After the GermanWings crash, the Indian pilots will now have a mandatory psychometric test. Remember, the DGCA, which is the Director General of Civil Aviation now, is framing guidelines for these tests. Madhav is going to be with us in just a bit and get us more details. But what we are given to understand is that there are recommendations now being made directing airlines to carry out these tests on all pilots during recruitment, also then at frequent intervals to keep basically a sense on the anomalies in behavior, if any. Madhav with us. Madhav, how soon perhaps these guidelines really could get into place?
Well, there has been a group that was formed at the DGCA, which comprised of senior officials of the DGCA. They have submitted their report to the Director General, which certainly suggests that 4 types of tests at 4 stages should be conducted for every pilot. At the stage of learning, when he first applies for his learning permit, at that stage itself. Then after that, before he joins the airline, at the stage that he's promoted to a commander, at that stage as well, a psychometric test. And lastly, when there's an accident, these 4 instances should be conducted so that there is adequate counseling as far as all the various psychometric parameters are concerned, to ensure that the kind of incident that was seen as far as GermanWings is concerned is not repeated. We do know that some airlines have individually also started conducting this, but now this will be mandatory, cutting across airlines, cutting across types of aircraft. All pilots will have to mandatorily undergo this particular psychometric test. Now, the report that has been given to the DG also suggests the formation of a larger group of officials who will look at the various guidelines and how this should be implemented in the nitty-gritty. So it could be a couple of months before we actually see this being implemented on ground, or perhaps a longer time frame, but eventually a decision having been made by the aviation regulator that we will see psychometric tests actually happening on ground for all pilots across airlines.
Now, Madhav, in case this really happens, what does this mean? Because we understand that most carriers right now in the country, including Air India, Indigo, SpiceJet, and perhaps Go Air, voluntarily undertake a detailed psychometric test of their pilots before induction. In case these guidelines really come into place, could this become mandatory? And are there voices that you're hearing against these guidelines also now?
Well, no voices that have been really vented as yet, but clearly, of course, as far as this particular guideline is concerned, as you rightly mentioned, it was voluntary earlier. Now it is going to become mandatory once these guidelines and these rules are put into place. So clearly, as far as pilots are concerned, certainly it's a very high-stress job. It is a highly technical job. And on top of that, if any personal issues, etc., like in the case of the GermanWings pilot, come into play, then certainly they could affect the pilot's performance. And that's why the psychometric test at some level or the other is being put in place by the aviation regulator DGCA to ensure that all these aspects are certainly taken into account, and at no level will these psychometric parameters or any other parameters be the reason for any kind of safety incident as far as aviation is concerned.
All right, Madhav, for the moment, many thanks for breaking down all the details.